Quintana, and for my legal environment and business final, I'm going to be presenting to you guys the Liebeck versus McDonald's case. So, just to give you guys like some significance of the case, it's very, very well known in the U.S. because of how popular McDonald's is and like the business population itself. And it's really something that is focused between like the liability of a customer and the profit margin of a customer and the consumer safety, because this case is something that is about a woman who ordered a very, very, very hot coffee, and while she was trying to drink the cup in her car, she ended up burning herself and getting hospitalized, which for McDonald's this doesn't look very good because they should not be serving a coffee that hot in the first place. And this also is something that sparked a very national debate because they believe it is more on the consumer error than McDonald's error, but we'll get later on into that. And one of the big legal concepts of this is the negligence, because people like the consumer, in this case, Miss Liebeck, should have been a lot smarter with the hot coffee in her hand, but she was very, very not safe, and this ended up leading to her getting burned and causing her physical injury, medical bills, medical costs, and eventually a lot of hard work when it came to the case itself in the court of law. Another thing that isn't talked about as much that I believe should be talked about more is the product liability. This is something that holds McDonald's accountable because they kind of just neglected the product itself by just kind of getting their coffee out the window when it came through the situation, because coffee is normally served around 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and this cup of coffee was served at about 190. So it was extremely hot for a normal cup, but they still put it out the window. And some of the case facts are about the plaintiff, which is Miss Liebeck, who is filing the complaint. She's a 79-year-old, which is a very big thing in this case because she's one of the older customers. You know what I'm saying? And this event or this incident occurred in a parked car while adding her cream and sugar after getting it from the drive-thru, which then led to her lap getting burned and eventually leading her into the hospital and having to get skin grafts, which, if you guys do not know, they are skin replacements for a person who is burned so badly or injured so badly that they need to get their skin replaced by surgery. And here's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Coffee is normally supposed to be served at a higher temperature, around 180 to 190, but her coffee was much hotter than normal. And this ended up leading to burns on her skin, and I would provide images, but I could not find any online, sadly. So there's something very, very bad happened to her lap, which led to her staying in the hospital for plenty of nights. And sadly enough, McDonald's should have been able to avoid this because they've been getting complaint after complaint after complaint about serving too hot coffee, or their items are coming out too hot, like too fresh, and something that you don't really think about and you kind of just look over. But if people are complaining about it, you should definitely take care of it as a company as big as McDonald's. And the legal issues for this is that a lot of people nowadays like kind of just expect to get their food from the drive-through and it be ready to eat. And I believe in this case, Miss Labick should be held a little accountable on her end, but according to the case, as you guys will see later, that doesn't really happen. But she kind of just assumed the coffee was going to be perfectly fine and she was going to be able to empty it out and put her sugar in and do these kinds of things. But she ended up getting a burn because she was not being careful with her own items. And this led for her to get burns and do other things I've already talked about. But something that I think should be really, really highlighted is there's always warnings. No matter if it's from the person at the window, no matter if it's from the company itself, there were warnings in place for her to not get burned or injured, and she still got injured. So this is not very much a McDonald's issue, but it's more of a consumer issue. And just to go a little bit more about what like holds McDonald's accountable, and which they ended up not doing very well in this case in the end, is McDonald's knew a lot about like people complaining. Like it's not just a one-time thing. It's something that's been reoccurring when it came to getting their food out the window and people like getting burned. For example, like I'm a coffee drinker myself, and people like me, I don't really be like, oh yeah, this coffee's gonna be fine. It's I get the black coffee, I think it's gonna be good, and I'll just drink it, which is something that we should do as consumers to prevent ourselves from getting injured, but we do not. So that kind of holds McDonald's up to that's why we're holding McDonald's up to a standard that we don't really hold for ourselves, which is not very good. And the plaintiff is actually a little at fault, which was seen in the case because yes, she is older. Yes, she is a little more likely to get injured by a burn by hot coffee, but she still should be careful enough to the point where she's able to not get burned and where she's able to avoid the situation she put herself in, which shows that she wasn't very good at decision making in the moment. And this leads to the outcome where McDonald's actually lost the case. They were they were in the court, and Liebeck tried to just get all of her medical bills and things paid for in this case, which actually ended up working out. And she ended up getting a load of money for this case where she was actually in the wrong, which kind of sucks in today's society, but there's nothing we could do about it. And hot coffee ended up leading to her winning some money. So, in conclusion, I believe that McDonald's is in the wrong. For the most part, McDonald's I believe is in the wrong, but there still needs to be some sort of accountability for the consumer because she could have avoided this situation in the first place. And this is also something that is very, very much a learning lesson for McDonald's, where they'll be able to avoid this in the future because they have actually lost a chunk of money for it. And that is the conclusion of the Liebeck versus McDonald's court case in the business law. And these are my references. Thank you guys for your time. I hope you all have a great summer, and I will look forward to seeing you guys next semester.